Bore da pawb, croeso i'r chweched sesiwn Sbotolau Hinsawdd. Gwych gweld gymaint o bobl yn ymuno efo ni heddiw. So good morning all. Welcome to the 6th Climate Spotlight session today. Great to see so many people joining us as well. So a couple of things to mention, to note just before we start. So we're recording today's session, as you'll have noticed there, so just to make you aware of that, and also the privacy policy that was included in the meeting invite as well. So the Climate Spotlight series is being facilitated by the WLGA's Climate Change Support Programme, which is funded by the Welsh Government. And the aim of that programme, our programme, is to support Welsh councils in preparing for net zero public sector by 2030. So as you'll hopefully be aware, today's session topic is carbon reduction plans guidance for local authorities. So it's a slightly different session. This one is that we're focusing on some upcoming guidance that we'll have available soon. So this is specifically a WLGA piece of work that's being developed for us by Miller Research as well. So just to mention as well, the work is being led by the Procurement Task and Finish Group. So the work is really to support decarbonising supply chain emissions. So really looking forward to hearing from our speaker today. So we have with us Dom Oliver, who's the lead consultant for climate change and decarbonisation for Miller Research. So after Dom's presentation, we should just have some time for a Q&A at the end as well. So any questions you do have, please do get involved. You know, we'd love to hear from you if you do have any questions at the end. So yeah, that's it from me. So I can hand over now to our speaker, Dom. Diolch, thank you.
Morning all. Yeah, welcome to the Climate Spotlight session and thanks for having me. So today we'll be talking about carbon reduction plans and specifically the guidance document for local authorities that will be published by the WLGA later in October. So just a short bit of additional housekeeping. We will be sending around a version of the slides after this, and then we'll follow that up with the guidance document when it's published later in the month. And as Julie mentioned, we'll be doing a short Q&A at the end, but you're also very welcome to email myself or the WLGA with any follow-up questions you may have, either about the presentation or when the guidance document is in front of you. We go to the next slide quickly. So just to kind of recap on why we're here, as local authorities, procurement choices that we make are critical. £5.5 billion a year is spent on goods and services, and about 17 public sector emissions are linked to goods and services that are procured. So this session is designed to give you a kind of straightforward introduction to how CLPs can help, and an outline of what is in the guidance document. Go to the next slide. So as mentioned, the guidance document will be published in October and has been consulted on by the WLGA with kind of feedback accommodated, and there's kind of broadly two key points. So the first point is the guidance is not just for procurement officers. We recognise there's a kind of wide range of roles within local authorities who undertake procurement activities and kind of tendering or managing contracts directly. And the guidance is pitched to accommodate all of those roles. It's not just for kind of procurement officers, it can be shared around among departments. And then secondly, the guidance aims to give a set of practical steps that can be taken. It's important to note that carbon reduction plans aren't a silver bullet, but they are a kind of useful and practical tool in the box, particularly at the relatively early stages of building our understanding of Scope 3 emissions, and primarily as a tool to engage the market and encourage better collection of data kind of from the off, and whether that's as a kind of information only requirement to minimise contract management requirements on the local authority, or as a kind of more involved stipulation down the line. So if we go on to the next slide, which just kind of highlights the key challenge. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with this, but we rely heavily on spend-based SOC code proxies to estimate our procurement emissions. These are quite blunt tools, they're quite generic, they're lagged, and they don't capture kind of the good things that individual suppliers are doing, and often the good actions that local authorities themselves are doing to work with their suppliers on the contract level. And so there is a need to move towards supplier-specific data and to close what we call in the guidance the kind of reporting loop, so that the actions and our actions as local authorities and supplier efforts are better reflected in the reporting of our emissions. So the guidance talks about a kind of hierarchy of data quality and how we can move more of our procurement away from industry factors and SIC code proxies and to supply averages through carbon reduction plans, and then on to kind of more involved levels of reporting, product carbon footprints, etc. And the guidance outlines the kind of benefits of that as a phased transition and the value in kind of engaging suppliers early to ask for their own reporting, and kind of the benefits that that can bring to both suppliers and councils. So if we just go to the next slide, just touch on briefly what a carbon reduction plan is. It's a supplier's public document. It sets out their organisational emissions, their scope 1 emissions, scope 2 emissions, and a subset of their scope 3 emissions. It sets out their commitment to achieving net zero by 2050, their targets and how they intend to meet them. And CLPs are encouraged in contracts over certain sizes under kind of WPPN 621, which is now 006, I believe, and then how they intend to meet them. And some councils are already kind of starting to lower those thresholds to increase engagement from the supply chain. To the next slide, please. So here, just kind of briefly touching on the benefits of CLPs for both local authorities and suppliers. I think it's important that we are considering suppliers in the supply chain as we kind of put these kinds of stipulations in place. And effectively, we want to be engaging the supply chain on this journey and bring them along with us. So CLPs can give us more accurate and supplier-specific data. They allow consistency and clarity for suppliers while building stronger supply relationships, ensure that supplier activities on their decarbonisation journey can start to kind of be better reflected into the emissions reporting of councils. So for local authorities, kind of enhanced accuracy, supplier-specific scope 3 is what we can kind of start to get to. They close the loop, so we can start to track the impact of supplier actions in the reporting, and that kind of helps us build business cases for particular interventions. They're also resource efficient, so they're kind of standardized, low burden approach on contract managers, and they're data led, so we can take better decisions and target interventions at particular suppliers or particular areas of supplier emissions. And then finally, they kind of leverage the Welsh pound, so they drive wider decarbonisation by encouraging organisations to kind of look at their total emissions in the round, and through that process kind of comes organisational benefits, cost savings, these kinds of things. So for suppliers, they provide consistency and clarity, kind of one clear set of expectations. They provide organisational benefits, efficiency, cost savings, kind of competitiveness, and they provide kind of early engagement, so they're accessible entry point to decarbonisation. So importantly, if you're asking your supplier for a carbon reduction plan, they have to go out and collect their kind of full suite of emissions. And in many cases, that's actually kind of easier than starting to pull together contract-specific emissions. So if we're asking them for their organisation emissions down the road, when we start to need contract-level emissions, it's a lot easier to kind of apportion emissions out of a kind of full understanding of the baseline. And then finally, just kind of support and funding, so it links to grants and training, and there's a kind of good case study in the guidance around Newport and some of the work Newport's managed to do in kind of connecting up social care providers with available grants from the Welsh Government. And then finally, they're kind of achievable and proportionate. So they scale to size and capacity, kind of the complexity of a carbon reduction plan diminishes whether they are an SME, or the smaller they are as an organisation. So then finally, I guess just to kind of summarise this, they're quite a resource efficient stepping stone towards more sophisticated contract level reporting in the future. And the reality is we kind of do need to be moving in that direction. But carbon reduction plans provide quite a nice starting point to move there. And then for colleagues outside of procurement, they're quite a useful entry point as well, opening up conversations with suppliers and kind of starting to engage the market on their kind of involvedness on the journey. We go to the next slide, please. So the guidance kind of outlines 8 practical steps that organizations can take to start kind of understanding and tackling their supply chain emissions. So we kind of start with a market emissions understanding, analysing spend, identifying key suppliers, and we're aware that often a smaller number of suppliers or categories can be responsible for quite a large volume of emissions. So it's quite a useful starting point to say, where are the bulk of our emissions and where do we need to kind of prioritise or target? The next kind of step is to target engagement, so prioritise high spend and shared suppliers, opportunities here to collaborate with neighbouring councils or regional suppliers. And then thirdly, kind of engagement itself. And in the guidance, we kind of highlight a range of depths of engagement depending on supplier profile. And we're aware that many organisations, again, they have a few kind of critical suppliers. They have a kind of many important suppliers, and then they have a kind of long tail of smaller suppliers. And CLPs kind of help engage suppliers kind of across that full range of profile. So the fourth step is contract procurement and management. So embedding CLPs, setting standards and collaborating with neighbours. Before kind of 5, taking action, supporting suppliers, enabling strategic investments, and kind of having a better understanding of where suppliers are struggling and how we can help them. And then 6, reporting. So we can use CLPs as a kind of basis for supplier-specific data, whether that's through supplier-specific proxies or kind of moving to contract-level emissions reporting. And then 7, that kind of helps close up this reporting loop, so we can link the actions that we're taking to measurable emissions reductions, and we can see those reductions in our kind of yearly report back to the Energy Service. And then finally 8, which is kind of ongoing training. So it's building awareness and capacity across staff. There are some resources in the guidance document as well to kind of support ongoing training within organisations, and a lot of that links to the Supply Chain Sustainability School, which has 3 modules. Go to the next slide, please, Richard. Have rattled through that quite quickly, quite a lot faster than I was intending to. I guess that leaves us more time perhaps for Q&A, but before we kind of wrap up, just want to highlight a few additional resources that you and colleagues can use kind of after today. So there's the Cabinet Office CLP template, which is the recognised starting point for producing carbon reduction plans. And that kind of links to a lot of the guidance on how these plans can be put together and the technical requirements that are required to put them together. And then the second one is Business Wales, which offers direct support to SMEs around pulling together carbon reduction plans. So if you're working with local suppliers, you can signpost them to that support. And then the third is the Supply Chain Sustainability School, as I mentioned, which has 3 modules on climate change, carbon reporting, and net zero, which are great for kind of building internal capacity. And then finally, the WLGA guidance, which, yeah, as I mentioned, we'll be sending out later in October, and hopefully should provide the kind of context and consistency for us all to work from. Go to the next slide, Richard. So just to kind of bring it all together, procurement, the key challenge is where the majority of our emissions sit, but it also means that it's where we have the biggest opportunity to make a difference. Carbon reduction plans provide a kind of practical, proportionate tool. They give us better data. They help us engage with suppliers meaningfully and build towards a kind of consistent Team Wales approach to net zero by 2030, where there's kind of challenges and concerns with that, particularly from the Scope 3 aspect. But the data that we collect today will kind of help support ongoing actions in the future. So the guidance will be published in late October. It's designed for all officers, not just procurement specialists, and hopefully provides a useful understanding of what CLPs are, their benefits, how they can be used, and how they can be kind of taken forwards and embedded in activities within organisations.